Hello everyone, I'm Eric, and this is Forbidden Files Asia. Yoga, a practice that most people see as safe, relaxing, and even healing. But in 2015, a case in Hong Kong completely shattered that idea of safety. A yoga ball, something normally used for fitness, somehow turned into an invisible killing tool. Silent, odorless, and impossible to notice, until a mother and daughter were found collapsed inside a car, already beyond saving. What shocked Hong Kong even more was this. During the police investigation, they discovered that the case was connected to a senior lecturer at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, a specialist in anesthesiology. Why would a respected medical expert use such a strange method to kill? Tonight, we're going to break down one of the most bizarre cases in Hong Kong's history, the yoga ball murder case. The central figure of this case is Dr. Kaw Kim Sun, a doctor from Malaysia. He trained in the United Kingdom and earned 2 specialist qualifications in anesthesiology. Later, he moved to Hong Kong with his wife, Wong Suk Fan, and joined the Chinese University's Faculty of Medicine. He worked his way up from assistant professor to associate professor, and also served as an honorary consultant at Prince of Wales Hospital. To his students and colleagues, Kaw was a high-achieving academic, stable, professional, and responsible. At home, he was the father of 4 children, living what looked like the life of a successful and respectable family man. His life seemed almost flawless: a solid career, social status, steady income, and frequent invitations to international academic events. He was the kind of person people in the medical field would call an elite. But the more perfect a person appears, the deeper the darkness that may be hiding behind them. For Kaw, the first crack in his perfect life started forming inside the university, and that crack began with a young PhD student, also from Malaysia. Li Wingyi was a top student from Malaysia who graduated from Hong Kong Polytechnic University with first-class honors. She later entered the Chinese University of Hong Kong to pursue a PhD in anesthesiology, and her supervisor was none other than Kaw Kim Sun. Because they came from the same country, spoke the same language, and shared similar backgrounds, and because their academic work required them to collaborate closely, the two quickly developed a relationship that felt more intimate than a normal teacher-student connection. They conducted research together, ran experiments together, and co-authored papers. On campus, they were an ideal academic team, and outside campus, Li often visited Kaw's home, supposedly to tutor his 2 daughters. But the way they interacted had already started to make people around them suspicious. Friends saw them out together many times, sometimes appearing close in ways that made others uncomfortable. Yet everyone felt this was a family matter and avoided saying anything. No one wanted to be the person who blew things up. That changed in 2013. At a casual gathering with friends, someone finally couldn't hold it in and asked Wong Suk Fan a direct question. "Do you know your husband and Li Wingyi seem a bit too close?" For Wong, that sentence hit her like a bolt of lightning. Years of uneasiness, doubt, and confusion suddenly turned into solid truth. She had not misjudged her husband. She really had been kept in the dark for many years. After learning the truth, Wong's emotional state collapsed rapidly. She began losing sleep, suffering anxiety, and overthinking everything, and was eventually diagnosed with moderate depression and anxiety, requiring long-term medication to stabilize her condition. In 2014, Wong Suk Fan finally reached her limit and asked for a divorce. For many people, divorce marks the beginning of healing from pain. But for Kaw Kim Sun, divorce meant a completely different kind of trouble: money. The couple's assets were substantial. Cash, property, and insurance combined were worth between 50 to 60 million Hong Kong dollars. If they divorced legally, Wong would be entitled to half of it. But Kaw was only willing to give her 1/6. This disagreement led to constant arguments, and the atmosphere at home became almost impossible to bear. Meanwhile, Kaw's relationship with Li Wingyi grew even closer. From 2013 to 2015, the two traveled together 9 times. Wong, on the other hand, tried to heal herself. She joined self-improvement workshops, hoping to regain emotional control. At the same time, she started spending a lot of money on clothes, accessories, and designer bags, using material things to patch up the emotional emptiness inside her. To her friends, it looked like she was slowly recovering, but no one knew that deep down, she was trapped in a marriage with no way forward, no matter which direction she turned. And in the midst of this tense and painful period for the family, a far bigger tragedy was quietly drawing closer. On the afternoon of May 22, 2015, Hong Kong was hot and humid, but everything seemed normal. 47-year-old Wang Suk-fan drove her yellow Mini Cooper, taking her 16-year-old daughter, Ka Lai-ling, out of the house. For the two of them, it should have been just another ordinary day. No one knew that this trip would become the final journey of their lives. At around 3:30 p.m., a jogger passed by a bus stop along Sai Sha Road in Sai Kung and noticed the yellow Mini parked quietly by the roadside. The mother and daughter inside looked as if they were simply resting, nothing out of the ordinary. The jogger didn't think much of it and continued her run. But about 40 minutes later, when she came back the same way, she realized the car hadn't moved at all. And more importantly, the two people inside were in the exact same position. Her instincts told her something was wrong. She went up to the car, knocked on the window, and called out. But there was no response at all. She immediately called the police. Firefighters arrived, broke the window, and pulled the mother and daughter out. They were rushed to the hospital, but sadly, both were pronounced dead shortly after. That night, Ka Kim's son rushed to the hospital. He held his daughter's body and cried uncontrollably, but when he looked at his wife's body, his expression was almost blank. Police officers noticed that aside from grief, he kept criticizing his wife's personality problems and the way she handled things. This unusual coldness raised the first red flag for investigators. But what truly triggered suspicion came from the forensic report. Both Wang Suk-fan and her daughter had died from carbon monoxide poisoning. The problem was, the car had no leaks and every mechanical part was functioning perfectly. So where did the carbon monoxide come from? Officers searched the vehicle, looking for any clue they could find. And then they discovered a seemingly ordinary object that would become the key to the entire case: a deflated yoga ball. A normal yoga ball is filled only with air and contains no toxic substances at all. The police at first suspected a manufacturing defect and contacted the company, but the manufacturer replied with complete certainty: a yoga ball leaving the factory could never contain carbon monoxide. This meant only one thing: someone had intentionally injected the toxic gas into the ball. Tracing the source of the carbon monoxide, investigators found that in April 2015, a cylinder of the gas had been delivered to the Li Ka-shing Medical Building at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. The person who placed the order was listed as a research assistant named Chow Ho Q. However, when police examined the emails more closely, they discovered that the person who actually requested the gas was Chow's supervisor, Ka Kim's son. Police immediately brought Chow in for questioning. What he told them instantly shifted the entire case from an accident to a premeditated act. Chow stated that 2 days before the incident, he witnessed Ka handling the carbon monoxide himself, injecting the gas into at least 2 yoga balls and then taking them away. Importantly, at that point, police had not revealed anything about a yoga ball being found in the car. This meant Chow's statement directly connected Ka to the center of the case. When questioned again, Ka gave his explanation. He claimed he had bought the carbon monoxide to kill rats at home, and said he had even warned his daughter that the yoga ball might be dangerous and told her not to touch it. On the surface, his story sounded like it could make sense, but witness testimony quickly tore it apart. The domestic helper said she had never seen any sign of rats in the house during the past 6 months. Friends and teachers confirmed that his daughter, Lai Ling, had a bright personality, lived a stable and disciplined life, and showed absolutely no signs of suicidal thoughts. And most importantly, all clues pointed toward the same core motive: an extramarital affair and money. When the police reviewed the couple's finances, they found several large insurance policies purchased overseas. The biggest one had a payout of Hong Kong $5.07 million, and the sole beneficiary was Ka Kim's son. On top of that, the couple had been arguing constantly over how to divide their assets, and Ka had been traveling frequently with Li Wingyi, maintaining a close relationship with her for years. Every motive pointed in the same direction. Ka needed to free himself from the marriage. Police believed Ka had already planned everything. As long as his wife died in an accident, he would gain a massive payout, avoid splitting their assets, and be free to continue his relationship with his mistress openly. When all the clues were put together, the picture became extremely clear. Every sentence Ka said no longer sounded like a defense, but more like a deeper self-exposure. In August 2018, the case officially went to trial at the High Court. The battle between the prosecution and the defense quickly became one of the most closely watched trials in Hong Kong's legal history. On the very first day, witnesses took the stand, one after another, each one dismantling Ka Kim's son's explanations, piece by piece. The domestic helper confirmed that there had never been any rats in the home. Teachers and classmates testified that Lai Ling showed absolutely no signs of suicidal behavior. Wam Suk Fan's friends described Ka as extremely stingy and said he had been very unhappy with his wife for spending money. And Ka's eldest daughter, Mei Ling, testified clearly that her parents' relationship had deteriorated sharply since 2008, and that she had personally noticed unusual interactions between her father and Li Wingyi. The prosecution argued that Ka not only felt nothing toward his marriage, but had tried his best to shift responsibility onto his daughter, attempting to frame the entire case as a suicide incident. They believed the real motives were the extramarital affair and money, and Lai Ling's death happened simply because she got into the wrong car, becoming an unfortunate collateral victim in her father's plan. After 6 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict. Ka Kim's son was guilty of 2 counts of murder. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment, meaning he will spend the rest of his life behind bars. A yoga ball is supposed to be one of the most ordinary fitness tools, but in the wrong hands, it became a silent, colorless, and odorless weapon. And the most terrifying part isn't the object itself, but the fact that a person can use their own knowledge, expertise, and rational mind to walk down a path that takes someone else's life. I'm Eric, and this is Forbidden Files Asia. We'll see you in the next file from Asia's Forbidden Archives.